All right, listeners, welcome back to Talk Tickers. Today we're doing a deep dive into Arista Networks' Q3 2024 earnings call.
Definitely one of the more interesting ones, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got the transcript right here, ready to break it down and see what kind of insights we can pull out.
And of course, we'll be taking a look at some recent stock market news, see how everything fits together.
So if you're interested in how Arista's performing, and you know how they're positioning themselves in this whole AI boom that everyone's talking about, well, stick around.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. What's really fascinating to me is how Arista isn't just like riding the AI wave, It seems like they're trying to become the wave itself.
I like that. Become the wave.
Yeah.
And their performance this quarter, it definitely reflects that ambition, right?
For sure.
They just blew past their revenue guidance.
Yeah, they pulled in, what was it? A massive $1.81 billion.
That's right. $1.81 billion. That's a 20% jump year over year.
Yeah, that's not just growth, it's acceleration, right?
Yeah, big time. And then their earnings per share, it was a record-breaking $2.40.
Incredible. It's like all this points to, this massive demand for their high-performance networking solutions.
Right.
And it makes sense if you think about it. The world is diving headfirst into AI, and you need a really strong infrastructure to support all these, complex workloads. And Arista's right there to provide that backbone,
Yeah, it's like they're almost anticipating the need, right?
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because they're not just passively providing the infrastructure. They're really trying to shape the future of AI networking with their, what do they call it, the Arista 2.0 strategy.
Yeah, that's right. They want to be the top dog in AI networking.
Exactly. When you think AI networking, you think Arista. And to me, it's exciting because they're not just talking the talk.
Right.
They're walking the walk. They're backing up their ambition with actions, with real concrete actions.
Yeah, forget buzzwords. They are actually building this foundation for massive AI workloads. They're connecting thousands of GPUs in their AI centers.
It's like they're building like a central nervous system for the AI world.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
They're connecting those back-end GPU clusters to, everything else. Storage, wide area networks, even, classic cloud networks.
It's incredible. So what's their approach to actually doing that? How do they go about building this AI-driven network?
Well, they talk a lot about data-driven networking.
Yeah.
Their software stack is like, imagine a giant network data lake.
Okay.
It's gathering all this data, crunching it,
Wow.
to make the network, smarter, more efficient.
It's like they're building a brain for the network.
Yeah. And think about it. AI and machine learning, it thrives on data.
Yeah.
Without it, it's just, empty promises. Arista gets that, and they're building their network accordingly.
Yeah, you have to feed the beast.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the back end of this AI network. What exactly is going on there?
So, we're talking about connecting all these, thousands of GPUs in these AI centers.
Yeah.
It's going from trials to pilots,
Right.
With full production expected in 2025, 2026. And they have this new Ethernet portfolio that allows for, get this, 800 gig throughput.
800 gig? That's insane speed.
It's wire speed. In the world of AI, speed is absolutely key. And Arista is making sure that data flows freely without any, bottlenecks.
Yeah, it's almost like building a superhighway for data, right?
Exactly. And on the front end, they're connecting those, powerful back-end systems to everything else. And this is driving a lot of demand for their 7800 R3 400 gig solution.
Okay, so front end, back end, they're firing on all cylinders, it seems like.
Absolutely.
But what about the competition? I mean, they're not the only ones in this space.
Oh, of course not. I mean, you have, the big one, NVIDIA. They're a partner in a lot of ways, but they're also a competitor.
Right, especially with the recent push into Ethernet.
Yeah, exactly. And while, Arista recognizes NVIDIA as a valuable partner, they're not shying away from the competition.
Yeah, no, they seem pretty confident.
Oh, yeah. They believe they have the superior portfolio and software for, this large-scale AI networking. And, based on the market's response, it seems like a lot of people agree.
Yeah, it seems like it. Now, what about white boxes? Have they made any, significant inroads in this space?
It's interesting. They haven't really disrupted AI networking the way they have in, traditional data centers.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because AI workloads are incredibly complex. It demands these really sophisticated solutions that, go beyond the basic functionality of white boxes.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've talked about the back end, we've talked about the front end, we've talked about the competition. But let's shift gears a little bit and talk about Arista's campus networking business.
Right.
They set a goal of $750 million in revenue for 2025. Are they on track to hit that?
It looks like it, yeah. Their what they call their universal spine concept, which basically seamlessly connects data centers and campuses, has been a real hit.
So it's like unifying the nervous system of a company's entire network, basically.
Exactly, and that's a huge selling point for companies that are looking to simplify their infrastructure.
Right. It makes total sense. But what about Wi-Fi? I mean, that's a pretty big part of the campus networking landscape.
That's true, and that's one area where, they're still working to kind of solidify their position. They're very strong in wired campus solutions, but their Wi-Fi offerings are, I'd say, still evolving.
You need to catch up a little bit.
Yeah, they know it's key if they want to, completely dominate the campus networking market.
All right, so let's talk about the financial outlook. Arista projected, what was it, 15% to 17% revenue growth in 2025.
That's right, aiming for a whopping $8 billion in revenue.
But with all this, push towards cloud and AI customers, how might their margins be affected?
It's a good question. And they've actually acknowledged that margins might be, slightly lower because of the nature of these, large-scale cloud and AI contracts.
Okay, so they're anticipating a little bit of a dip there.
Yeah, but they're still projecting healthy operating margins and double-digit growth, for the foreseeable future.
That's still really impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
And we can't forget about the stock split. Arista announced a 4-for-1 stock split.
Right, which basically divides each share into 4. Doesn't change the fundamental value of the company, but it makes the shares more accessible to a wider range of investors.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so before we get into our This Is Not Financial Advice segment, let's touch on the supply chain really quickly.
Sure.
It's been a roller coaster for a lot of companies.
It has. I think things are definitely more predictable now, but lead times for key components are still longer than before the pandemic.
Right, so they're not quite back to normal.
Not yet, but Arista is being proactive. They're increasing their inventory to meet this, rapidly growing demand for AI networking solutions.
Smart move. It's better to be prepared than caught off guard. Okay, are you ready for that outrageous trade idea?
Let's do it.
All right, let's hear it.
So are you ready for this outrageous trade idea?
Hit me with it.
All right, remember, this is not financial advice.
Of course, of course.
But what if you shorted NVIDIA
Shorted NVIDIA?
and went long on Arista?
Whoa, hold on. Short NVIDIA? That's pretty bold, right? I mean, they're like the kings of GPUs.
Yeah, they are. But here's the thing, right? NVIDIA, they're amazing at making the GPUs, the raw processing power, But Arista, they're becoming the maestro, the conductor,
Right.
the one who makes all those GPUs sing together, in this AI symphony.
I like that analogy.
They provide the networking infrastructure that makes those GPUs really shine in AI applications.
So it's like NVIDIA is the star athlete, all raw talent.
Yeah, yeah.
And Arista is the coach, the trainer, the whole support system that maximizes that talent.
Exactly. And as AI becomes even more essential, to pretty much everything, that support system, that networking infrastructure becomes absolutely mission critical.
Okay, I'm starting to see your logic here. So let's take a step back for a second. What are the big takeaways from all this, from this deep dive into Arista?
Well, first off, they just absolutely crush their Q3 earnings, exceeding expectations on all fronts.
Yeah, it wasn't even close.
They're firing on all cylinders.
And they're not just riding this AI wave, they're actively shaping it, right?
Exactly, with these innovative solutions and, these strategic partnerships.
And this commitment to, data-driven networking, automation, reliability, that's what's setting them apart.
It is. It's, building those bridges, connecting that back end to the front end, ensuring smooth data flow.
And it's not just attracting new customers, it's converting like diehard fans of other technologies. Like, we talked about that InfiniBand convert.
That was huge.
That's a big sign that Arista is really winning hearts and minds in this AI space.
And, their success in campus networking, it just shows they're not a one-trick pony. They're building this comprehensive networking ecosystem.
And even though they're, up against some giants like NVIDIA, they're holding their own.
Absolutely.
And they're carving out a serious chunk of that AI networking pie.
And, the way they're handling these supply chain issues,
Yeah.
building up that inventory to meet demand, That shows foresight.
It does.
It shows they're thinking ahead.
They're thinking long term. And their financial outlook, even with those possible margin adjustments, it's still super strong.
It is. Healthy operating margins, double-digit growth. I mean, what more could you ask for as an investor?
Right. It all really points to Arista potentially becoming, the networking giant of this AI era. But of course, listeners, you know the drill. Do your own research
Always.
before making any investment decisions. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about, something we didn't really get into.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Just think about the scale of what companies like Arista are building. They're creating the infrastructure for these incredibly powerful AI systems that'll process, just unimaginable amounts of data.
Yeah.
And they're going to touch like every aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind-boggling when you think about it. The future is being built like right now.
It really is.
And companies like Arista, they're laying the foundation.
Yeah, it's exciting, it's transformative, but it also, raises some questions.
Absolutely.
About responsibility, about oversight.
Yeah, who's going to govern these systems? How do we make sure they're used ethically? These are questions we have to be asking as we go further into this, age of AI.
Couldn't agree more. It's not just about the tech, it's about the human element.
Exactly. Well, folks, that wraps up another deep dive from Talk Tickers. Hope you found it informative, maybe even got those wheels turned a little bit.
And remember, we're here to help you make sense of these earnings calls, give you the insights you need to navigate this crazy world of the stock market. Be sure to subscribe to Talk Tickers wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss our next episode.
And be sure to check out our show notes for links to all the stuff we talked about today.
You got it.
Until next time, happy investing. It really is. It's a wild world out there. We're all kind of, figuring it out as we go. But that's what makes it so interesting, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's what we love about, doing this show, diving into these earnings calls, trying to understand these companies and technologies that are, building the future.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So if you're as fascinated by all this as we are, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join us for our next, deep dive into the world of earnings calls and market trends and all that.
Until then, keep those brains curious.
Keep those portfolios diversified.
And those investment strategies evolving.
This is Talk Tickers, signing off.